so that we can share it with our friends who couldn't make it today. And we'll get started, I guess. How was this week? How did everything go? You guys did amazing work. Ready to go?
I think Luca and I still need a wee bit of help on ours, but
Cool. We can do that. We can because we got the other PR merged. And the one that was merged was the add item one. So what we'll need to do is once the code is in place on yours, we will need to rebase with master and replace the token logic that just got merged with your new token logic that you've created. So I think it's just like in, I think in the other PR, it's just like, what, 2 lines of code or something?
Okay.
It's doing this store. It was like very few lines. So it should be a quick, easy replacement. But are you like working on my comments in the PR? Were those clear?
Yeah. We know what we want to do. We're kind of going in circles on how to get there, so.
What I would recommend probably for that, okay, so the idea that I was kind of trying to convey is that with the token logic, because ideally it's like the whole app needs to know about like logged in state, right? And so we want to elevate that state to a place that is easy to access like throughout the whole app so that we can like, send the token when we make queries to Firebase and stuff. So if we can just elevate that token, like I would go ahead and just start by taking everything that's in the welcome file and just moving it up to the app file. And then from there, once you get it all in place and working just in the exact same way you had it on the welcome page, you can go down into your, like where it's returning the routes, and you can do like if token and then 2 ampersands and then wrap like the welcome thing and like conditionally return.
Yep, I know what you're saying now.
Yeah, whatever you need. And then from there, if you want to refactor to like move things around and clean it up, you totally can. Or you can just leave it there. It's not that much code, and I think it's appropriate for it to be an app anyway. So basically just move it all over.
Did you get that, Luca? Fair enough.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, cool.
Okay, and then once you get all of that working as expected, and that should fix, how like right now you can navigate to like all these like all the routes without a token. Yeah. That should fix that, I think. I think that'll like restrict the access to those other routes in the event that there is no token. Like it'll like block those from rendering at all. Okay. Once you get that done and approved, then and I can work with you to do this, but we'll rebase it with master, do the replacement, and then push it all up to master, and we should have both of them on the same thing. So what we'll do anyway is we'll still demo the work and see like how it's working now so that we can all get familiar with it. And we'll work on merging that later today. So Lily, do you want to start with yours since yours is in production, right? Awesome. I'll turn it over to you.
Cool. Let me share my screen. Actually, hold on. Let me make sure I have everything up. Okay. Everybody see this okay? Oh, I think I couldn't tell if can you guys see this?
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry.
I couldn't see the Zoom, sorry. Cool, yeah, so our issue this week was basically to make it so that the user can add a shopping list item with certain constraints for their last purchase date, and then also an option for them to choose their amongst like 3 different options: soon, kind of soon, and not soon, for their next purchase date, which would then map to different values of 7 days, 14 days, and 30 days. So Shiji and I just pretty much repurposed our add item component, just did some pretty simple updates on like the default state that we had, realized that when we add a item to the database, the last purchase date we didn't realize was like the same as today's current date. So this is a new update that we made just today. The next purchase date was just defaulted to 7 days. And then our handle change, we ended up just spreading in like the previous, I guess the previous state, and then using like e.target.name and the brackets, which helps like dynamically update every input so that we don't have to write like a bunch of different handle changes for every single input that we had down here. And then we also put in a reset input function just to, on submit, make the input back to an empty item. And then we also, this is the use effect that we used to like have a dummy token that's basically just using a UUID library and then setting the user token. So I think this one is like the line of code that we could delete once we merge the other PR into master. And just to demo it pretty quickly, go to the add item, type in eggs test, because there's a lot of eggs already added kind of soon, and then you should be able to see it on the list, eggs test.
Yes.
One other thing we did was
fantastic.
another thing we did was like just to prevent the user from adding an item when they don't, when they didn't like enter anything in the input. So just putting a little alert there.
I love it. That's
Nice.
perfect. This form looks great too. I love this demo. This is like, thank you so much for pointing out that line of code. I think that kind of thing is really helpful for everybody, but especially like when you know your teammates are getting ready to go up against something, if you have some kind of information, it's like super important to share that and just speed things up so they don't have to question like, is this what that was? So thank you so much for being a team player with that. Amazing. Cool. Anybody have any thoughts or questions on this one? This is great. Good. Okay. In that case, great work this week. I will turn it over to Luca and Allie. If you just want to demo what you have like locally, that'd be great. Show us like what the code is doing. And if you have an idea of what you're going to do next, you can share that too, or things that you think would be helpful.
I can share my screen and we can both kind of go over the code. All right, can you guys see my screen? VS Code?
Yep. Yeah.
All right, so first we started with creating a token.js file, which has all the logic that was given to us while working on this issue. So basically this token.js file generates a random string for tokens. And this is used later for welcome.js logic to incorporate that random string. So welcome.js component is where the actual logic happens. First, we incorporated use history hook, which is React router hook, and it gives us a history object that we can use then to push the locations based on the logic. So we create handle click function that on the button, and handle click function first saves the token, or it gets the token from token.js file and then saves it to local storage. And as it's saved, we push the route /list. So as the token is saved, user is redirected to a /list route where the list is the actual list is. And then in terms of the token, if token already exists, we check local storage, and if token already exists, we just don't render the new list button, and we directly redirect user to the list route or component. Yeah, basic. And then, of course, yeah, use effects hook we use to, so every time new user visits the website, and every time the token is saved, we check again if the token is there. If not, we redirect to the welcome component. Otherwise, we direct to the list component. Ali,
This is great. Yeah, I was gonna say that. You want to show us what it looks like?
Oh, sure. Okay, so this is the home page. So every time I can also kind of show the application and local storage. Right now, there is no token. Therefore, I'm redirected to the, or I'm shown the new list button. So as I click, there is a token created and saved in our local storage. And we are redirected to the list route. And from here, we can add new item or just visit the list. So every time now, if I want to go back to the home route, we are restricted because the token already exists. However, if I get rid of this token and try again, I have the access to the new list.
I love this. This is fantastic. So like when you move all that up to app.js, you know, on app.js, like anytime you navigate within the app, the like browser is basically reaching out to app.js and being like, what route do I go to? So if you put that logic like right there in app.js saying like, if there's a token, you know, you can render all the routes, if not render the welcome screen. That's what'll make it so that if there isn't a token, you can't go to list because again, it's going to go to app and it's going to be like, oh wait, there's no token. So I literally can't do this. Like I'm going to have to redirect to the welcome, like render the welcome component instead. So that's why I think that will fix that little bug when you lift all that data. Great work on this. Any thoughts on this one from anybody else? Questions, comments, concerns, ideas, tips?
Great demos from
So
both of y'all. That was awesome.
So good. So quick and concise. These are like week 2 and you guys are doing brilliant demos and I love it. This is like, we usually expect the first couple weeks like meetings to run a little long because we're like just getting in the groove of things and learning how to do succinct demos and figure out how to do retros. And I don't think that's going to happen with us. I think that we're like killing it. So great job. And great work this week. Okay, after this meeting, just like let's talk async and Slack about what you need from us to get this one wrapped up, but we'll still move on as if this one is wrapped up, like pairing off with our new partners and going over new issues too. But in the meantime, are you ready for our first ever retros?
Yes.
I'm gonna turn it over to Adrienne.
Hey y'all. So this is my first time running a retro for Collab Lab. I'm super excited to do it. We have a project board that's similar to the one we have been working on. Well, it's like in a similar place. You go to pull it down. So let me get that link. So if you're at the main screen, which I'm gonna
right here, I can drop it.
Drop this in Slack. Yep. So that's the main screen. At the top, there are, there's code, issues, pull requests, actions, and then there's projects. And if you go to that projects link, there you'll see the TCL 8 smart shopping list, which is where we've all been working, but you'll also see these retros, these retro boards. And right now we have all the retros set up for our cohort. And today is June 14th. So I'm going to click on June 14th. The way we're going to run this, and Stacy, please do, and that is the second project in there. So I just put that link in Slack. We're going to take about 10 minutes. Is that right, Stacy?
Yep, perfect.
In this meeting to go ahead and add thoughts under appreciations, what went well and what kept us from making progress, or what could we do better next sprint. So to add an item, you'll just click that little plus sign, and it does not have to be perfect and beautiful. It can just be a thought, it can be a sentence, it can be a paragraph, it can even be a word that you expound on, because what we're going to do once you've got these up here is we're going to take some time and talk through. And the way I'll lead that is, if you wrote it, you say it, and we'll talk through anything as a group. So yeah, do y'all have any questions about how we're going to do this? We're going to take 10 minutes to write, and then we're going to talk together.
Sounds perfect. If you want to like face mute while you write it, that's totally fine. And yeah, be kind, be transparent, be honest. This is how we make improvements as a team. So this is a safe space to share.
Awesome.
Let's
All
do
right,
it.
I'm going to mute myself and probably turn off my video, and I'll come back at 12:30 my time to start the conversation. I think it'll be 10:30 for some of y'all in Pacific, right? All right.
Exactly. Okay.
All right, folks, if you can hear me, this is your 1-minute check-in. Let's take one more minute to wrap it up, and then we'll pop back on.
Thanks, Adrienne.
All right, let's pop back on, everyone, and go through our board.
Yes,
This is super great. Okay, thank you again, Stacey, so much for the opportunity to run this. I love retros. I love retros because they're a really awesome opportunity to do two things: to celebrate your wins and also to look forward to the future and how you want to grow and change. And part of celebrating the wins is expressing appreciation. I love that Collab Lab is a place that fosters appreciation. On my teams, like, I'm always the first one to set up like the appreciation channel. So it makes me really happy that this is like baked into our process. So the way we're going to run it today and every retro is that we're going to talk through what we wrote. Stacey, I did have one clarifying question.
Sure.
In the future, do we want folks to be adding stuff to the retro board throughout the week so that it's already there when we meet on Sunday? Or are we always going to take this time every week to write together?
Always take the time to write together. This is actually the first cohort where we've had these boards available in advance. Usually we just make them on the fly. So if you want to pop in and drop those things into the board throughout the weeks or the 2 weeks that lead up to the retro, that's fine. Or I definitely encourage you, if you didn't this time, to be taking notes locally on your computers or wherever about what you're going to put in these things. So when the time comes, you can just jam them in there real quick. And like usually in the Zoom chat, we'll post like done as soon as we're done, and we can like pop back in if everybody finishes early. So
Nice.
yeah, you can put those in there if you want. If you want to wait, because like a lot of stuff happens last minute, might, conjure up new thoughts, that's fine too. Cool. Whatever you feel comfortable with.
But we will always take this time to write together. Okay, awesome.
Totally.
Fantastic. So after we do that, the next thing we do is we open up the board and we talk through.
You want to share your screen for this part, Adrienne?
Yeah.
So that
you know what?
can
That's
walk
such a
through
great
together.
idea. Let me do that. Okay, share screen. All right, retro board, share. Can y'all see my Firefox?
Sure can.
Okay, awesome. So let's start with appreciations. And Stacey, do you typically just like start with the very first card and whoever it is, and then you just kind of go down? Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, Lily, you are up, my dear.
Cool. Yeah, thank you, Adrienne, I wrote in some like notes in my issue throughout the week that I meant to look into myself later, and I really appreciated that you like just proactively went in to answer some of the technical questions I had. And then Stacey, thank you for taking your time to dig into like all the different approaches to validate that question I had about saving like numbers versus strings to the DB. And then yeah, to the other pair for really, really thoughtful code reviews. Oh, and I guess this next one might also be me. And then generally, I'm just appreciative of like throughout the week, seeing your guys' really nice and thoughtful Slack messages, keeping us on track. Yeah, I really appreciate that.
I'm a huge softie, so I'm like trying not to tear up right now. So thank you so much. You'll see when we get to the final column, like the fact that you called out like the technical help from me is like really cheering my heart. So thank you.
Oh.
All right. So let's see, Luca, you're up next.
Yeah, I I really appreciate Ali's great collaboration. Communication was amazing. We were always available to support each other. So I'm really grateful for that. And in general, the structure of the program, that everyone is very active on Slack and ready to support. I really appreciate that.
Love it. Thank you, Luca. To Stacy, an amazing developer in her own right, for the thorough answers to team technical questions this week. I'll pass it over to Allie.
I actually wanted to appreciate Luca for handling me not being around all that much. I feel like I was half asleep and out of it all week. So, but thank you. And that walkthrough of our code was fantastic.
Love it. Stacy, wrap us up.
So good. Okay. I appreciate how dedicated you all are during like such trying time. What even is happening in 20? I can't even, but the fact that you all have showed up and done such amazing work and have worked together as a team so well is inspiring, and I think pulls us all in together. So appreciate you all for your dedication and solid teamwork here. Also appreciate Adrienne for helping us all move forward and stay motivated. Like those Slack messages, like we mentioned before, are super helpful in kind of like keeping our bearings and figuring out where we are in the week. And they really help me like focus my attention and bring me back down to reality. Like, right, this is where we are. I got this. I can do it. So they're uplifting to my spirit and they keep us all on track. So appreciate you all.
Thank you. All right, let's jump over to the what went well column, specifically what went really well. And Luca, I'll have you kick us off with the communication.
Sure. Yeah, as I mentioned, communication was great. Also, peer reviews, amazing, very educational. And also, the advices are really amazing. It's something that I didn't think. So it's really amazing to have like these two different perspectives on one problem solving issue. So that was really great.
Love it. Lily?
Yeah, I really liked that the issues, both of the issues from last week and this week, they just seem really like well defined, but not overly defined, so that we're like restricted in how we implement the code.
Yeah, it really speaks to a well-designed program. Thank you, Stacy and Andrew.
I love to hear that one.
Stacy, you're next.
What went well? Okay. Oh, incredibly concise and informative demos each week. Like I said before, this is like a little out of the ordinary for the start of a cohort for them to be this amazing already. So A+, amazing job on the demos. This is like something that's going to like play a really large role in your careers as a developer. So keep that up, keep refining that skill. The ability to do like a good demo like this is invaluable. So great work. That went well. Amazing teamwork and coordination within the pairs. You all just seem like you're working really well together, and there hasn't been any, from like what I can see, any kind of like struggles there to like collaborate and get the work done and work together as a team. So amazing job there, which is kind of like leading into the next one, which is like there are clear displays of empathy within this team as we balance our busy lives or things like getting sick or having family obligations or work obligations. So I love to see it. I think that is like the number one thing that helps us collaborate in like a really productive way, is having empathy for each other. So I see you. I see you being empathetic and amazing, and I love you for it. Great work.
Awesome. Yeah, I just wanted to second the terrific demos today. As Stacy mentioned, a little unusual. I went through mentor training, and I kind of learned that the first few weeks there might be some mad scrambles, and there might be some issues with cadence and timing, and it's been really cool to see like how on point y'all are. Now, in saying that, I don't want to say that like I expect that of you every week, because your life you may face some real challenges in the coming week, and that's totally normal. But I do want to say how cool it is that like you've gotten off to such a strong start. I'll pass it to Allie.
I also wanted to second that the issues are so well explained and thought out that, like, for me to go through and make a step-by-step checklist of what needs to be done is so easy. And then that just makes going in and doing the coding that much easier. So thank you. Oh yeah, and it was nice. That made it easy to get our PR up on Wednesday. So
Yeah, I love it. Lily, back to Lily.
Yeah, I think like both of the pairs getting the PRs in by Wednesday just made it feel really like more relaxed, I think, throughout the rest of the week. Since last week, I feel like just like I wasn't quite sure about the timing of like when to get reviews done. So I think this week, like getting that balance in was really nice.
Awesome. Friend speaks my mind, so I won't say that one again. But I will say that the inner team reviews looked really thorough, really thoughtful, and really kind. And it was just great to see that teamwork. I also wanted to say, like, I love to hear y'all saying that the, like Allie just said, like the issues are so well explained and thought out. I would like to encourage you to look for that on your future teams, to expect that, to demand that, okay? That is what good product leadership and good engineering leadership offers you as developers. I'll tell you a super quick story. This team that I was leading most recently, I had a senior engineer, many years of experience, literally tell me that his main issue with product is that the issues were not well explained and thought out. And he did not, his job, like it sucked the life out of him to have to try to figure out what was sought every freaking time. It was really not making work a great place for him. And so it's totally okay to expect and want that as a developer. And I just want to affirm you in that and say that Collab Lab isn't doing anything like above and beyond in that regard. I mean, they are, but that's what you should get. This is the experience you should have. So I just wanted to affirm that and say, I hope you get that in your future positions. And if you don't, ask for it, demand it, because you deserve it.
I want to like build on that just briefly because we're doing really good on time. And I think that's a super valuable point too. And like at Collab Lab, the stakes are low, right? We have like, there's no stakeholders. We're not selling anything. There's no money on the line. But when you do get into like a developer role where you are building a product for real users and you have like a product team and designers giving you things, like Adrienne was saying, take the time to ask questions before you get into it. And that's kind of why we do our breakout rooms every Sunday, so that you can break out and be like, this isn't quite clear to me. And that's why we like are like, be really open in Slack if you need help or clarification on things, because we don't have like designs to go off of. We don't have like, can you still hear me? Siri just popped up. Okay. Anyway, we like don't have a lot of these other pieces of the puzzle that like lead to a lot of confusion on a team. So when you get on a team, ask tons of questions about every single little tiny thing you're doing to make sure you get it right the first time. You don't spend a week working on a feature that turns out you weren't doing right or the way that they wanted you to do it. So all questions are good. Over ask so that you can make sure you're on the right path.
That's amazing. Okay, let's go over to what kept us from making progress, or what could we do better next sprint, and I'll have Luca start us off.
Yeah, just a little comment there. It didn't kept us from progressing. Of course, progress was amazing. It just took me some time to figure out what would be the best way to pull down other pairs branch, because it was my first time actually reviewing a branch, and first time I pulled it down and it automatically merged with our branch, and then however, then of course I figured it out. I just fetched, and then I had like complete separate branch from other pairs, and then I could just test that branch separately. So yeah, just a little comment.
Nice, thank you for sharing that. So I just wanted to say to the group that I feel a little out of my element answering the technical questions on the team. I'm trying not to be like super hard on myself, and I'm saying like there are a few very reasonable reasons for this. One, I haven't worked professionally as a developer for about 5 years. Like I have not had as like my prime directive write code for pay for about 5 years. I haven't worked with React since it was brand new. React hooks, I'm out of date on. I've never worked with Firebase before. So that's one really good reason, right? The other one is that I've spent the last 3 years working as a director or vice president, where I haven't really been working in the code daily. I've been closer to actually developing product roadmaps for 2 different companies and refining product requirements and taking a piece of engineering work and breaking it down, but not doing the implementation, and really focusing on empowering the developers in the room to make the technical choices and not really being like the technical guide in that way. So that's been, that's been a little bit challenging for me. It's really touched my heart to get that feedback from Lily, because that was actually hard for me, Lily. It was actually hard for me to answer some of those questions. So in the spirit of full disclosure, I am so far from perfect myself, and I get imposter syndrome. And as I see y'all working on code and doing so well, I'm just like, oh, they're just so great and so smart, and I barely know what's going on, but but I'm trying to tamp that down and know that I am providing value. So just know that I've always got that little kind of devil on my shoulder saying, you could do better, you're rusty, and I'm trying to make that devil be quiet. So I'll pass it over back to Lily.
Yeah, I wrote that I was like a little bit confused about the wording on our issue, and it wasn't really necessarily the wording, but maybe just like there was some maybe purposefully ambiguous for how to implement like getting the token, like the dummy token, and then also like it didn't click until today that like adding the item meant that you've purchased the item. So just those 2 things.
Nice.
I want to like stop there for just 1 second. That is all super valuable feedback for us to hear, Lily. We're like constantly refining these tickets and the program at large so that things aren't like hard. Like we don't want to put up barriers where there shouldn't be. We don't want this to be harder than it has to be. So hearing that now, I can like go in and refine those for future cohorts. So as you all run into things like this, please post them in Slack, tell us about them so that we can like continue making it better for everyone. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for the transparency.
Love it. All right, let's go to Allie, and then Stacy will wrap us up.
Oh, I was just going to say that I felt a little confused on exactly when or how we needed to request that last review, but I think Stacy's following that up. So, but yeah, that was it. Because I feel like we got our first one done on Wednesday, and then it took us forever to sort of get to the end. So, yeah.
Cool. On to me, because that leads right into mine perfectly. You all did fantastic getting your PRs up like super quick and getting reviews in there, which was amazing. The way that will be managed, kind of like Ali was saying, is just post in Slack, post a link to the PR as soon as you need the other pair to come in, post a link to the PR and tag that pair. It's not like rude to like pester them, like if it's been a day and they haven't done anything, pester them. If it's been a couple hours and you really need them in there, like pester them again. It's totally fine. We all have such busy, crazy lives that it's like, it's kind of nice to like have that reminder in there so that, because they're pulled in so many different directions. So you're never being too loud. Just tag people. When you're ready for mentors, post another link to it and tag us in again. And just as you have to go back and forth, keep tagging us in and we'll get in there and we'll review it. Good.
Love
Amazing retro, everyone. That was fantastic. Went super fast. We have 10 minutes left. With that 10 minutes, we will go into our breakout rooms. Let me share my screen with you. Oh, and just to wrap up retros, again, we will do that same process again in 2 weeks. So over the next 2 weeks, be taking notes about the things that you think are great. Oh, actually, on the note of retros, some action items there. I think that like generally we'll pick like 1 or 2 to really focus on. And I think the two that really stood out for me, and let me know if you think something else is most important, is like getting everybody a better understanding of like processes like Git, for example, and kind of like going through the peer review process a little bit smoother. So like being more communicative about the PR process. So I wanted to show you that we have one of our former collabs who is going to do a Git basics on like how to do Git as it applies at Collab Lab. So hopefully that will be coming like really soon. I'll message Jennifer and see if she can like get that rolling quickly so that you can kind of get a better idea of how to Git. And then with the PR process, again, like just be super loud in Slack and tag people, and don't feel bad for tagging people because it's what we need. So, okay. Any other questions about retro? You all did amazing and I loved it. Good? Okay. So if you pop into Slack and you go into our TCL 8 channel, I posted threads for both pairs so that you can go in here and you can drop the link to the issue that you choose to work on. And you can communicate like out loud so that we can all see about when you're pairing and what's going on so that we can all stay in the loop. And we'll pop over to our project board and let's see, one of these, the add item one has gone through the whole cycle, right? That one's merged to master. Correct? Yeah, I think so. The token one is it's been reviewer approved. We're waiting for the product owner approval. So once this gets merged, we'll move it over there. And that's kind of the movement that these will go through. So as you hit those different stages of the process, feel free to move this card over that way. Okay. The next two issues are, let me get Zoom out of the way. Okay. As a user, I want to join an existing shopping list so I can share a shopping list with someone. So this will be like a place where you can take one of those tokens and input it and it'll render that specific list from Firebase. So right now we are creating a token and rendering a list based on that token. This will be using a token to get a different list. Number 6 is going to be, as a user, I want to be alerted when I'm entering an item that's the same as something already on my list to avoid duplicate items. So basically looking through whatever existing list is associated with that token and matching up those characters to see if there's a match. So one is very like database heavy, like checking the database and rendering certain things from the database based on the token. The other one is going to be more like your classic JavaScript challenge, sort of getting those to see if there's duplicates. So the pairs again are listed here. Does anybody have one that they think they want to take specifically? Is one interesting to anybody? If not, I'll just assign them in order.
I'm kind of interested in like the database heavy one.
Okay, so Lily and Allie.
That works.
Okay, we are going to assign this to Lily. Oh, you both pop up. That's perfect. Wow. All right, that one's on y'all, and then this one will be Luca and Shasha. Let's see. Shasha and Luca. Okay, and I'll move that one over here too. Okay, so Adrienne, any specific one you want to pop into the?
Yeah, I'm interested in the database one since that's
Okay.
where I'm got a learning opportunity.
Perfect. All right, let me stop my screen share with you then so I can create breakout rooms manually. I'm so bad at creating breakout rooms. It's like,
No, you're not. No, you're not.
We got Allie, Lily, Adrienne. Okay, and then room 2 is going to be me and Luca, and Shajia would be in there, but she's not here. So, okay. All right. Amazing 2 weeks, amazing weekly sync. Retros were incredible. Such valuable information there for us to use to improve our team, our cohort 8 team, and the Collab Lab team at large, and the whole program at large. So thank you so much for being kind and honest and helpful in the retros, beautiful demos. beautiful work. Again, kind of like going off what Adrienne was saying about like technical challenges and stuff. Collab Lab is so much less about the quality of your code. Build what you're building, meet the acceptance criteria, and if it's like something massive that we think is going to really cause like roadblocks in the future, like something like moving the token up and stuff, we'll suggest it. But other than that, it's just make it work. This is about the collaboration and working together and learning together. So don't feel stifled by technicalities. And if there's something that Adrienne or I can't answer, we have a whole crew of like brilliant, experienced senior developers who work in code every day who can help us.
Yeah, for sure.
Good. All right, I'm
Thank you,
gonna send this
Stacey.
into breakout rooms, and we will see you in Slack. Opening all rooms. Ready, set, go.
I'm invited.
Hi.
Hi.
Us again. I feel like I always get to meet with you. This is great. Okay, so I will screen share so we can go over this issue. Share my screen. Number 6. I'm gonna open the full details here so we can check them out. Okay, so again, as a user, I want to be alerted, and I saw that there's already an alert in the app on the add item issue, like when you try and add an item and it doesn't, there's nothing in the field, it'll alert. It's like that exact same alert that we need in this case. So you can maybe go snag whatever code they have there to like make the alert happen. Let's see. I feel like my beats are getting ready to die. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, yeah. I think my internet connection is little acting weirdly, but it was
okay. Anyway, so I want to be alerted when I'm entering an item that's the same as something already on the list, so I can avoid duplicates. So the AC is show an error message if they try and submit that. Show an error message if they try and submit a new item that has. Show an error message if the user tries to submit a new item that has the exact same name as an existing item. Show an error message if the user tries to submit a new item that has the same name as an existing item where the capitalization has been normalized and the punctuation has been removed. Okay. So this like, God, Siri, go away. I need to just turn Siri off. Okay, so it sounds like we need to make sure somewhere in the database, there needs to be like a normalized version. No, not in the database necessarily. When the user inputs their item, we want to be sure we're saving exactly how they write it, because that's exactly how the user should see it, because that's how they input it and that's how they want to see it. So like, if they want to say like Oreos with a capital O, that's how they want to see it. So that's how we should save it in the database. But somewhere on the front end, we need to make sure we're normalizing that and like taking off the exclamation mark at the end and making the capital O a lowercase o so that we can compare it. But it sounds like we also need to be comparing the original as well. Like that's what I'm gathering from these two here.
Yeah.
And then the user's original input should be gets what's saved in the database. Perfect. That's what we just talked about. Okay. So what do you think, like, what are your high level thoughts for how you might approach this?
So just like clarifying, I guess the capitalization should not matter, right? Because, for example, if there is an item in the list with name, for example, bread, and if it's saved as like lower B, then of course, like if a user enters like another bread with capital letter,
yeah, I think you're right.
And so like as user enters, either it's going to be saved as like capital letter or lower letter, but capitalization shouldn't matter, probably, right?
I think so. I think the only thing that will matter is like the punctuation. Like you want to be sure you're checking the original to make sure you're, but I mean, I guess like That's a really good question. Is like Oreos with an exclamation mark. If I try and enter Oreos without an exclamation mark, it should alert me. Yeah, it should alert me either way. So basically, you just want to be comparing like a normalized version of everything, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I think that seems right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought also.
Okay, I think so too. So maybe make a note about that, and then probably like if I were gonna do this, I would start by just going and searching like, ugh, my beats are dying. Hold on. Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay. I think that I would probably start by just going and seeing like check for duplicates in an array or something. You know, like I'm sure there's a bunch of people who've done the same kind of challenge out there so that you can easily like snag that. One challenge that you might face is like, where is the list currently being saved locally? Because we don't want to be hitting the database every time we're like checking for the duplicate. We want to have like a local version of the list stored in the app so that when the app renders or like, you know, like when a new item gets added, we get the list and then we can just like run through that list to check for duplicates rather than running through the actual database. So you might want to think about like how you could get a local version of that list. I might suggest looking into using like React context hook, which will allow you to like store a local version of the list, but then since it's in context, you can use it anywhere in the app rather than like if you just store that version in the list JS, for example, then you're going to have to like, you know, like do extra work to send it around the app to different places where you might need to like run through it or check it. But if you have it up in context, you can just pull from that context using the provider anywhere. So might look into that, or for now you can just like have it, you know, in an array locally in the list file. But somewhere you probably have like a local version of that.
Sure. Yeah, context hooks sounds interesting. I've never used, but I've seen it a couple of times, and I kind of have an idea how people use it. So
yes, they're so good to. It's like a really good thing to know, and it would be like totally setting the app up for success if you were to able to like implement that now, rather than like having to go back and refactor a bunch of stuff in a couple weeks or something.
cool.
But either way, whatever's easier, whatever you can get in there and gets the acceptance criteria met is good enough.
Sounds great. Sure.
Other thoughts? Any other questions about it? I'm totally here for you in Slack too if like you come up with it.
Yeah, I think the only question was that you already answered in terms of like say not accessing database every time we check. That's actually what I was wondering, and you actually already told me. So yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, so this one with Shazia for next week, but if you have questions like getting that other one wrapped up, just ping me and Adrienne in Slack and we'll try and get that one merged as soon as we can. The merge conflict might get a little hairy if you're not totally familiar with doing merge conflicts, but I'll send you over some commands that you can use if you want to try it on your own. If not, I'm totally happy to pair with you on getting those merge conflicts resolved.
Sure, sounds good. Me and Ali will work on this if she has time right now.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Let me know how it goes.
Awesome, sounds good. Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great weekend.
You too.